game number one, spawning up in the top position of Lightshade. He is BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is Rogue. Not to worry, Sushi, I was on top of it. I was just taking a second. And yes, I do know a BTS, both the behind the scenes and the band. But you know what? This is going to be even better than the stylings of BTS, as BYUN really on a tear recently, especially in TVZ. I feel like it's kind of his most powerful matchup overall. Just because as a Terran player, you do need to utilize a lot of micro in order to survive the constant swarm of Banelings, Zerglings, and Mutalisks. So it's really where he's in his comfort zone. Now, Rogue is no slouch in that regard because he is so powerful, especially when he gets to the mid to late game, where he can just consistently pump out those Zerg units and kind of just overwhelm the opponent overall. Very difficult to stop, very difficult to get any sort of damage done, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be BYUN. Now already we have BYUN going to be going for one of his signature strategies. We have him going for that 2-1-1, which has been making a pretty good comeback here on the back of BYUN. So we'll have to see how much power he's going to be able to get done with it. The big thing about 2-1-1 is what it allows you to do is just force your opponent to pump out these attacking units for the defense, and it doesn't allow them to get up to that very strong late game economy of 70 to 80 drones. Also allows you to get some very good map presence, especially getting that third CC up and just kind of getting your economy set up in a really nice way. But the thing is here, Rogue, he's got to scout this out, because without any sort of scouting information, he doesn't know how many queens he needs. He doesn't know where the attack's going to be coming from. So he has to be on top of this. He needs to see the attack coming in pretty soon, or else he's just not going to be able to deal with it. Thing is, Rogue, he's an amazing player. Obviously, he is a world champion in one of his lives. And he really does show up, especially in these longer show matches. We have seen him just go absolutely balls to the wall, hard on his opponent, and just absolutely crush them. But there's also been those kind of times where you've seen him kind of decide, you know what, I don't want to reveal any strategies. I don't want to do anything too crazy. I just want to try and get through this series and win it straight up. So we'll have to see which Rogue decides to come out here, as he did get a scout off of the 2-1-1. So now he knows what he can do. He's instantly throws down the Evo chamber, which will allow him to get those upgrades and a little bit of an upgrade lead there, if I do say so myself. And honestly, he is making some pretty good moves here, just not overextending on the Zerg line, but we'll have to see how he can take care of this attack. Now, already Rogue is going to be going for a bit of a counterattack. He's got a little bit of a surround actually set up. He's just going to bring those back. BYUN has a slightly smaller army supply, but he does have stim. Combat shields will be on the way soon as well. Going to try and dive straight on top of those queens. We'll get one of them for not too much there, but there's still enough queens in the back. Although BYUN is starting to get on top of those, that is 3 queens going down, and Rogue just not able to take on the power of BYUN. What an amazing game number one. And that's kind of the thing. BYUN will just beat you down with experience with these builds. He does not really, you know, he doesn't really slow down. Once he starts the attack, it's very difficult to get any sort of counter damage in because he's just consistently in your face and forcing you to defend. That's kind of his big strength, especially when he starts to get into the later stages. It's just so hard to deal with. Uh, but you know what? Rogue knows how this game goes. He's already selected his next math. He's going into Jaganantha. Now, if I know BYUN, and hopefully I've cast enough of his games recently to know him, but we might be seeing 3-Rax Reapers into an extended period of this game. That is going to be very interesting to see. Now, or get too far in, let's introduce these mad lads in the game spawning in the or in the top position of Jaganantha rather. He is Rogue, Jin Green Wings. And now this guy in the bottom still hunting for a team, but he can do it all on his own sometimes. He is BYUN. Now, that last game is definitely not indicative of what Rogue is capable of. I think he just kind of caught it a little bit too late. And from what it seemed like, he was gearing up for some sort of counterattack, but then just pulled his units home to try and defend. BYUN really didn't give him the opportunity to kind of correct that mistake, as he just went straight in for the queens. And once those queens fall, there's just this period where the medevacs can just jump around, and it's difficult to really follow as the lings. So just really solid, really standard there from BYUN. This time it doesn't. We'll have to see if he decides to go for the same. We didn't get my 3-Rax Reaper that I was expecting. I've seen a lot of him on this map, just throwing down the 3-Raxes on the wall and just going full-on Reaper production for at least 5 to 6 minutes. But actually, he's just going to go for a if it ain't broke, don't fix it style with an extra Rax. So once again, the 2-1-1 has begun. Now, this is kind of BYUN's bread and butter. Obviously, he's most known for his 3-Raxes back in 2016, but I mean, this is pretty much the other build that made him so unstoppable. He's even refined this against Protoss as well. He's done a different variation where he delays the gas for a little bit longer and is just able to pump out so many Marines early on versus the Protoss that they just get overwhelmed very quickly. And there's also a couple of different ways you can do it. You can throw down the factory first before the second Rax, get a ton of Hellions, and just go for a big Hellbat timing as well. It's just so many different ways that BYUN can do this. And right now, it's just a pretty standard, bog standard, I might say, 2 Rax here. Now, Rogue going to try and get a little bit of a scout around with these lings, but they are not going to get too much done. Even just trying to get one of those SCVs, that would have been a nice little pickup for Rogue. But overall, I do like how Rogue is kind of getting this good vision of the map. He's trying to make sure that he's got most of the attack paths covered. Still needs to get something on the left side, but I digress. It's just going to be really important to see this coming. And as Jagannatha is a much bigger map, BYUN, who in the last game decided to walk across, not waiting for the medevacs, is going to have so much further to go. So reinforcements are going to be a little bit hard pressed to come in there. But here we go. Rogue has a good view of this right now. Just going to start pumping out the queens, start pumping out the lings, and this is exactly the moves that he needs to defend. Even going for that fast carapace to try and help his units out. BYUN going to start to dive on those queens, but a good transfuse is just going to keep those alive for a little bit longer. And BYUN is going to settle for just getting one of those creep tumors before backing off the creep. He's already throwing down his third CC as well as his upgrades in those Inji bays. So that's really all he can really hope for here. Maybe getting a couple more Ling pickoffs would be wonderful for him. He just needs to force out as many as possible. But he also has to be careful because that queen, none of those queens have gone down. So these medevacs are very, very vulnerable. And now we see a position where Rogue can comfortably start to add in the additional drones and just start to bank up his economy a little bit harder. BYUN trying to dive once again for the queens, a couple of good transfuses and some good focus fire as well. So a whole medevac full of Marines is just dead and gone. Rogue, much better defense in this game. He's got to be careful. He's got to be careful though. Doesn't want to commit into these small choke points. Otherwise, he's just going to lose way too much for way too little gain. Now, BYUN's still out on the map. He still has pretty good control of that right now. The Lings not wanting to move off the creep. We do see that Rogue has the lair up and already going for his +2 carapace, so his Ling's going to be so well upgraded versus any sort of attack BYUN can do. Already, I'm really liking this game for Rogue, and it looks like he's not actually going to try and go up to a stronger economy. He's just got 20 more Lings on the production tab, and this is where it gets epic for Rogue. Third base may be down, but that is going to be under fire here pretty quickly. There's still enough at home to defend as well. So it looks like Rogue is going to have to back up here for just a little bit of time. But now he can kind of hunt down this drop and keep it in his sight. We do have one little Liberator doing what it can. Actually, the Queen's pretty slow, so it's going to be able to siege his position for quite a bit of time. With the armory up, these Widow Mines are going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with as I don't see that much detection. Rogue actually going to be able to get in, and this is going to be pretty big as he will be able to get a little bit of SCV damage with this attack. Going to go straight for the Marines and actually try and pick those off as much as possible. But already 7 SCVs going down. On the other side of the map, his drop is getting deflected. And this is the Rogue that we like to see, adding in the additional Banelings, cleaning up the drop. BYUN is in a little bit of trouble here as Rogue is up to 77 workers, and now it looks like BYUN is going to go on the attack and try and get some counter damage in. We do have the Hydralisks on the field as well. I do think once he starts to go up to Hive Tech, we should be starting to see a little bit of a transition into Lurkers. That's been a pretty popular choice recently for Zerg players in the late game. And now Rogue is actually just going to keep going for these little bit of counterattacks, doing what he can to kind of pull the army of BYUN back. We do have this big drop in the top trying to get down, but he's always just keeping his focus, his attention on the attack at the third. Couple of great Widow Baneling connections here, going to take down 18 more workers up at the top. The fourth base may fall, but Rogue already has another one ready to go. And now, you know, Rogue is going to take out the wall. His Hydralisks are a little bit far out of position. They don't actually have speed just yet, so he has to be careful on them. But BYUN, already down to 42 workers, is having a little bit of trouble here just breaking this defense of Rogue. Without that third base mining as well, it just becomes that much more difficult. He's going to have to rely on mules for a good majority of this game, and Rogue is just getting more and more powerful by the minute. I gotta say though, one thing about this is Rogue has not gone up to a Hive Tech. I feel like he's been given a lot of room to do so. But now, without that Hive, he's going to start to fall behind a little bit in terms of those upgrades. And that's going to give BYUN a little bit of an edge in some of these fights, but we'll have to see on that as BYUN is on the attack now for the first real time. Once again, though, Rogue is going to be coming in here on the third base. Another small Ling run by, going to get a couple of workers before pulling away. Now the burrowed Lings. That is going to be so annoying for BYUN to deal with. I was just checking there. Rogue doesn't actually have an infestation pit with any of this, so he's still not able to go up to that Hive Tech. And really, I think that's the kind of thing holding him back in this game. If BYUN is given too much room on these +3 upgrades, these fights are going to go so much better for him. Although right now, a Rogue going in for a killing blow here. He has more than enough units, and Rogue is going to finish it without the Hive. And we are tied at 1 apiece. I knew this series would deliver, and I am so glad that it has. These guys are on top of things. They already know which map they want, and they want to keep this series going. Okay, so BYUN's map choice is Submarine. Now, Submarine, you know, it's that smaller, more aggressive map. I think that kind of plays a little bit more to BYUN's style. He really does like that early aggression. It's kind of one of the things that he focuses on a lot more. And that's, you know, that's a blessing and a curse. Sometimes he does kind of focus on the early game and the mid game a little bit too much, but you know, he still has a very solid late game that I'm hoping we're going to get to see in this series. But you know what? Let's focus on the here and now. Spawning in the bottom position of Submarine, he is teamless BYUN. And his opponent up here in the top, he is Jinair's Rogue. I Thank you for reminding me, Sushi. Don't forget, guys, if you want to support the Pro Series, especially this map, the best way to do that is by heading to the Match Arena link in the chat and adding that a code APS217 to add a free 50 cents to the prize pool. These players, I'm sure, appreciate it because you know, every single cent counts when it comes to StarCraft 2. Rogue, you know, depending on who you ask, he's number 1 or 2 in the world for how much money he's made playing StarCraft, but every little bit helps, and I'm sure that just by the fact that he's playing this one where it's a little bit lower stake, a little bit lower money, he's still going for gold, and I really think that's an awesome thing to think about. No. We're not seeing anything too crazy out of BYUN this time. He is going to be foregoing the Reaper. And what that will allow him to do is actually maybe catch this Overlord. And never mind, it's already in position. And look at that. We do see he's actually going to be going for the 2-1-1 once again. Now, Rogue has a bit of a hard counter to this, just a little bit. Because it does look like he's going to be going for a very aggressive 2-base Roach attack. Roaches versus 2-1-1 are very powerful once you get up to that critical mass. They don't scale as well into the later stages of the game, especially versus Bio. But if you can overwhelm your opponent early on before they can really get this production up and going quite heavily, then you're just going to be in a great position. Rogue knows that, and we'll have to see how hard he's gonna go on this. He did throw down his 3rd base while I wasn't looking. I think the big thing is you do need to do quite a bit of damage with this. If you don't, then you have sacrificed so much economy to get this rolling. Stim is kind of a factor here too. You have this bit of a timing. I think it's about 3 minutes, 120 seconds, or 125 seconds or so before Stim is done. So that's really the window to attack. Now BYUN probably smelling a little bit of trouble here as he does have his Marines stationed on the high ground, instantly just pulling the SCVs. He does want to get rid of that high ground vision as quickly as possible, and he is able to do so, but unfortunately the Roaches are going to be able to get in. The question is, how much are they going to be able to get done? So far, it doesn't look like a lot as BYUN is able to clean up a good majority of them before his Marines start to fall. Keep in mind, however, his 2-1-1 timing attack is going to be really delayed now and a lot less powerful, as he did lose 6 workers with that. That drop for Rogue, though. I don't think he got all the damage that he was looking for there. There was certainly more potential for more. Now he has to kind of catch up in the drone game a little bit, kind of hoping that BYUN decides to delay a little bit just because he lost so many Marines. I really like this move. This is actually the coolest thing. Empty medevacs going across, trying to fake out Rogue. And that has got to freak Rogue out a little bit. Just the mind games that these two play in literally every single series that they do. Now, Rogue actually does have quite a few Lings back at home, and he is building up quite a heavy Queen production with plenty of transfuse. So BYUN's first big attack here isn't really going to get too much done. He will be able to kind of kill off the creep, but again, there's so much creep tumor energy with this. Now he is going to get a couple, or one of those queens rather, before he has to pick up and get out of there. Now Rogue did produce quite a few units, but he is droning up heavily behind this, getting 5 more workers and going up to lair tech. So he is in a pretty good spot, all things considered. BYUN, however, has added in siege tanks this time, and that is a wild card here for him. He's got to make sure that he can siege those up in a good position, because anytime he has to siege up in a non-favorable position, he isn't, like, it just slows him down heavily and gives Rogue so much time. Already, though, he's going to clear up a lot of that creep near the 3rd base, so that's going to allow him to move forward quite far. Looks like he's actually just going to push the front and try and clean up Rogue from here. Rotating around to the 3rd base, the Queen's taking a couple of siege tank volleys. They're going to use up a lot of their transfuse energy, but there's still more. BYUN has to be careful. He can't go too far forward, or the Lings are just going to be able to get for the full surround. And here we go. One tank does get taken down. I think there was at least one more. I'm not 100% sure, but BYUN is just going to pull up that forward one. A lot of time has been given. 12 Banelings are about to finish up, but this is a huge army for BYUN, and once again, we've got the surround coming in. Queen's going to take out as many of those medevacs as possible. So not that much healing energy left, but it is only Queens left now. I don't think there is enough here for Rogue to defend, and BYUN will take game number 2 with a very standard parade push. That was fantastic. That kind of shows. Once BYUN begins to push, he really doesn't like to let up on that pressure. He just keeps pushing you and finding these small locations, and then once you lose enough units, he can just start to pick them off one by one. His focus fire is that good. Now we got the ready signal from both sides here, so we are going to keep this going. Right now, this has been 2-1-1 practice for BYUN, but hey, I mean, it's been working. Non-stealthy shot out there. But anyway, we are going to be hopping into game number 4. This series is moving right along, and it's thanks to the efforts of guys like down here in the bottom position, Janair Green Wings, Rogue. And his opponent up here in the top. He may be teamless, but he is also fearless. He is BYUN. Now, Rogue has a little bit of an inkling of what BYUN likes to do on this map. Going to be going for a huge scout around, making sure that all the units and all the buildings being produced are right here in BYUN's base. Because if they're not, that's when those alarm bells start to ring for him. But so far, I think he feels pretty content to see what he's seen. He's going to send that drone home knowing that nothing really is going to be coming across. And once again, BYUN is just going to forego the Reaper. Now, this is safer for him because if you do decide to dive an Overlord in, you are going to have that additional Marine to kind of pick that off. And you know what, guys? That is another Rax going down. It's kind of funny because the way I see it, a lot of the time in these smaller show matches, in these smaller series, we do see players just kind of sticking to a certain build order and just keeping it consistent throughout the series because they don't really want to show too much of what they've been practicing. But for BYUN, I mean, he's got this practiced out to an absolute science. So this is more just saying that I can kill you with 2 medevacs and 16 Marines. And you know what? Rogue did say in the second game, no, you cannot. And, you know, it's just really fun to see BYUN pulling out all the stops with this. Once again, though, it is going to come down to whether Rogue can get that scout in. He is going for pneumatized Carapace so that he can speed on in there. It's just, this is one of the most important things. If Rogue scouts it, then it loses so much power. BYUN will still have that kind of map presence and be able to kind of push back against Rogue a little bit, but it's that initial attack where a lot of the power comes from. Especially when it comes to Rogue getting into that later stage economy, because if you have to make a ton of lings, that is a ton of larvae not being used for drones. But now he has a very good idea of what's coming. We should see the Evo chamber drop, and there it is. So just going to go straight for those Carapace upgrades on the Lings, going to make them a little bit more beefier versus the Marines. And from there, he's going to look to survive the onslaught of red coming across the map. I do like as well how he's just sending these scouting Lings all over the map, trying to give himself a little vision of when this is going to move out. And here we go. BYUN has begun the push. Now Rogue is in position near that third base. BYUN just waiting for the medevacs and the reinforcements. It looks like he's also going to try and do a bit of a feint. Or it looked like he was trying to confuse Rogue on where he was going. Or, excuse me, or coming in. But here we go. The Ling's going to go straight for the wraparound here, and Rogue is going to force the pickup. Queen's not getting too much damage, not taking too much damage there. They are going to get out of this pretty much unscathed. And now Rogue does have the army supply lead, so he can just keep BYUN from doing too much. Now, I did see the tech lab go down on one of the factories, so I'll have to see if he's going to go into Widow Mines or siege tanks behind this. But getting a supply block is Rogue, and now the Queen's a little bit far forward without the Link support. One of them will go down before BYUN has to get on out of there with a very weak medevac. Have to be so careful with that. BYUN going to be adding on the additional racks as well. The armory is going to help out with those upgrades, so he's not going to fall behind in that regard. And this is kind of one of the things. Upgrades is so important in this stage. You need to make sure you're at least trying to stay even on both sides. Otherwise, the Lings are just going to tear through you. But BYUN Not really able to get too much done with this drop, but he might actually just be going for the double prong here, which I would really say is the best option. But now he's being a little bit more cautious on where he jumps into, adding in the Widow Mines for the splash. He has a good unit count. He's doing pretty well in terms of the production. We do see Rogue going up into Spire, however, so this is something that you do need to get a sight on. Widow Mines will help out a lot with that, but only if you have him in the right position. But here we go. Rogue going to be going for his first big attack. There's not too much at home for him to defend. The reinforcement is going to actually start to get picked up and cleaned up a little bit. That was an epic dive right there by Rogue. So he gets the entire mineral line and a bunch of the reinforcements. So BYUN going to be hopping on in, trying to see what he can get done. He does get surrounded and will have to pick up. So Rogue already starting to get into his element here. He is feeling pretty good about where he is in this game. Now we see kind of the dueling counterattacks coming in. Although BYUN is a little bit more in position for them. Just trying to force that entire wave into a heavy choke point to take that out. Overall, just really good positioning is keeping BYUN from losing too much. And allowing him to keep pushing onto the creep as much as possible. Has to be careful here because Rogue is doing a really good job of baiting those Widow Mine shots into BYUN's army. So here we go once again. Kind of the 1-2 punch right now. Trying to get that focus fire as well on the Amulisks. He does take down one of them. Taking a look at the units lost tab. Currently up over 2,000 army supply, or lost supply there. And although he does get cleaned up on one side, he takes a relatively even fight and is able to retreat as well with a majority of his army on the left. So he lives to fight another day. There's not that many Banelings with this force either for Rogue. He does get a couple of good connections in the front, but the reinforcements just going to continue to stream forward here. And BYUN takes a heavy army supply lead. If you take a look at the army and the worker supply, he is neck and neck with Rogue right now, and he's going to keep this attack going. I think at best, Rogue may lose this base, but the wave of Banelings coming in is going to help that for a little bit longer. But now we see BYUN in his element. Just a steady stream of red coming across the map. Rogue, to his credit, he is defending remarkably well, and he has pushed BYUN back for the time being. But you know, BYUN still has this massive army, and he's going up into Thor production as well. Really, the Beautis not able to get too much done either. They're just not in the high enough numbers that he needs in order to go through with this, with any dive. BYUN is definitely not done yet either. He does not want to allow his opponent any room to breathe and rebuild his army. Baneling's going to be going for some juicy connections, but they do get taken down. But there are quite a few left. Gonna retreat into the minefield. Those are some nice Widow Mine connections. Those are changelings. But Rogue maxed out and trying to go for a bit of a counterattack here. How much will he get done? He takes a couple of big shots on the Mutalisks, and the Lings are starting to get cleaned up as well. Does he really have enough here to make a difference? Especially since BYUN was already pretty close by. The Muta's gonna have to kind of rotate between these locations, segment the army of BYUN if they want to get anything done. Oh, ho, ho. Rogue, you cheeky man. BYUN gonna come in once again. The Baneling's not able to get too many good connections, but Rogue is on the counter attack. He does have quite a few Banelings morphing at home, so Rogue is gonna get a pretty good trade here with all of these Widow Mines. The reinforcements gonna start to clean it up a little bit, and here we go. BYUN gonna keep the pressure on. Already losing 14 workers, so he's down to below 50 for the first time. But he will take out this base, and we'll have to see how much more he can get done, as he did lose his third CC. He's also quite heavily supply blocked because of these Mutalisks, who killed off 16 workers. And he is still in BYUN's base right now, in every which way. So while BYUN starts to get cleaned up, Rogue just able to remax over and over and over again. I am literally completely scared for those Mutos, but at the same time, Rogue not able to take some good connections in the front. The question is, does BYUN have enough with this attack? He has just decided to go for it, and this is kind of his last huzzah right now. There won't really be any reinforcements for him. The splits are pretty good, but there is just way too many Banelings right now. Demita's going to be coming at home as well on this, and I think Rogue has cleaned BYUN up. It might be a little bit of a slow bleed, but I think BYUN is a little bit out of steam. I have been wrong before. This is a miracle worker of a Terran player. We'll have to see if he can keep this game going for any longer. The problem is I just don't really see it. If we take a look at what he's producing, 2 Marines, 1 Marauder, and a Thor, it's just not really enough to deal with the production of Rogue. Although Rogue has dropped in supply quite heavily, at the same time his army has just stayed very, very strong. Now BYUN, of course, he's down to 38 workers, so any attack is just going to be a lot easier to rebuff for Rogue. Just trying to get the damage done that he can as well. And look at this, hidden Banelings all over the place. Rogue is in complete control right now. He did detonate a little bit early there. There wasn't that much to kill. But now with BYUN moving out once again, we do see the Muta's going to be going in on the attack. So will BYUN be able to close it out with this army? Because he's not going to have too much on the back burner. Ultra is taking a lot of those Widowmine shots. They will start to fall, actually. We'll need some transfuses from the Queens to keep them alive. Muna's going to be picking off the reinforcements in the back. Yeah, once again on the retreat. I think that is what's left in the tank there for BYUN. He is focusing all his energy right here with those medevacs falling. That is going to be it. Rogue ties the series up 2 apiece. This series is everything you would expect from these two players. I'll have to see, because BYUN, it is still BYUN's map choice because of that. And yeah, Rogue was just able to defend so well. It's hard to say what could have been done differently by BYUN, because he did a lot of the right steps. He was very aggressive. He was able to stay out on the map and keep himself fighting for the longest time. But in the end, Rogue just got up to that very difficult wave of units. Be going on to Oxide. So for those of you who don't know, basically the format of this is best of 9. So we play out the 7 ladder maps and then it resets. So any map is open for grabs for the next 2 games afterward. If we do get to that point. Honestly, with the way these games are going, I certainly think we are going to get to that point. As these guys are just absolutely destroying each other. And speaking of destroying each other, let's introduce the players once again. Spawning down here in the bottom position, he is BYUN. And his opponent in the top, he is Rogue. So now that BYUN's kind of been a little bit rebuffed with the 2-1-1, it'll be interesting to see if he continues forward with it, or if he is going to try and mix it up a little bit. He does have a few more options on what to do, especially in his repertoire. He has been using a lot of Hellions in T. So I would like to see him go for Hellions at least once in the series. Look like I'll get that, because he is gearing up for another 2-1-1. I gotta say, I love BYUN. I love his strategies, but at the same time, I do think you gotta mix it up a little bit. Okay, actually, he is mixing it up a little bit, going for the factory. And now this is where that kind of variation comes into play. Based off the positioning of this, I don't think he's going to actually jump this over. Just with how far it is from the barracks. Yeah, it is just going to be a 1-1-1 here with a tech lab, so maybe fast Banshee. That definitely is an opportunity as well, Sushi. He could certainly go for some sort of Hellbat push, but right now it just looks like he's going for a Banshee push, actually. Which would be pretty cool. The addition of Banshees to any sort of marine attack just really increases the power, especially if Rogue doesn't have that lair tech or spore crawlers in position. It's really difficult to deal with because you can just hit those queens and force those transfuses a lot quicker than just pure marine. But already, Rogue might be thinking this is another 2-1-1 based off the amount of marines he's seen. BYUN doing a pretty good job of hiding his true strength right now that he doesn't have that additional racks. Okay, yeah, this is just a concerted two-base push. I really want to see how heavy he's going to commit to this, because this can be an all-in, or you can transition if you do enough damage. Okay. And he's going to transition straight into that third base. I'm really just waiting for the move out here. Might be seeing it on... actually. So he only has the one siege tank. That's interesting to me, but what's even more interesting is the spores. Nowhere in position, and there is no lair, so this Banshee has free reign, and 7, 8, 9 workers going down. This is great damage from BYUN, just gonna keep going. This is an incredible start. Over 13 workers going down, and he even saves the Banshee. The second one going to be flying in here, trying to see what it can get done, but the Spore's already in position, so he will have to back on out. Now, we do see the follow-up is going to be a siege tank push. So if he does keep those Banshees alive, they are going to increase the power quite heavily. Even going to pick off a lot of the creep here as much as possible. And I feel like this can be something that Rogue can defend, but he doesn't even have his Baneling nest up yet. Doesn't have the lair finished either. So he's going to have to rely purely on Queen Ling to defend. And here we go. BYUN going to be moving on out. It looks like Rogue is going to try and clean up some of the better known tank positions, but he does leave his queens completely undefended. Rocks not going down either, so Rogue just not really getting into a good position here. He is gonna have to retreat. Now, you can actually just siege up the location right there, and you're within range of that hatchery, so you can keep pushing forward. I guess a Banshee did get taken down over here. But Rogue is just gonna counterattack off the back of this, go straight for the third base, and do what he can, getting 8 workers. The reinforcements being pulled back to defend. I think this is kind of the move that Rogue needs to do, just buy himself time, as BYUN not really inching his way forward. He's giving a lot of time to Rogue. Here we go. That Ling run by is going to start to do some work as BYUN inches his way forward at the front. There are a lot of Banelings right there, but they are susceptible to siege tank fire. And of course, just a massive amounts of focus fire that BYUN can do. I feel like this is a little bit of a trouble here. Rogue only sending a couple forward at a time. Now it does look like Rogue is going to go for a bit of a surround on the reinforcements. That's actually a ton of SCVs. I don't know if BYUN meant to pull that many SCVs that far forward, but Rogue did get one of the connections that he needs to defend. Finally going to clear up the rocks as well. 7 workers going down on the other side. Going to go straight for the 4th base location as well. But BYUN is on the attack, and this is the point where he just does not stop. Rogue feeling confident going off of the creep, but now the reinforcements come in, and this is just an overwhelming force. It's neck and neck here. 8 Baneleys need to morph in order to defend this, but the creep has been pushed back so far on this location that they can't really go too far forward. The medevacs are out of energy, so now these Baneleys are a little bit more potent. But with that siege tank fire, they are out of the equation. BYUN skyrocketing ahead, the stream of red coming across the map. The additional medevacs as well going to be coming forward. There is going to be plenty of heal energy with this. And I think BYUN is starting to slowly break Rogue here. Fortunately, Rogue just not really dealing well with the siege tanks in the back. He's just taking too many pot shots to the face there. And here we go. That was a little bit of a last huzzah. He does get rid of the siege tanks, but there is plenty of Marines in the back. And remember, when there's only a couple of Banelings, BYUN can focus fire them down very, very quickly. Now, BYUN is going to step back for just a second here, waiting for the additional siege tank. He wants to keep the attack going in any way possible. Small little run by here from Rogue, going to go straight for the 4th. Gets a couple of workers, but the reinforcements are going to be able to clean that up. Some decent Baneling connections, but they do start to fall. And once again, he's just not able to get on top of the siege tank in the back. He finally does take it down, but there's so much bio with this. You know what? I think Rogue is actually starting to stabilize a little bit here. Just a little bit, though. We do have 13 Hydralisks on the production tab. That's going to be the kind of linchpin of this defense. He needs to defend until those are out. But it does not look like they are going to get there in time. BYUN gets the tap out, and he is going to go up in this series once again. But with how this series has been so far, I would not doubt that we are going to go all the way tonight. The big thing for Rogue is he had the perfect idea. And it really was Rogue back in 2016 to figure out the best way to kill BYUN is to stop the reinforcement train. I remember there was a game on, I believe, Sequencer was the map name way back when, but when uh, Rogue just made it look so easy against the nerfed Reapers, just by sending those small counterattacks around and blocking them off. Actually, Rogue's choice. So we're going to be going on to Romanticide for this next one. And after that, we have one more, Pillars of Gold. Or get a little bit of a break by being able to pick their own maps again. But I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. I know this series is great for me. Make sure you also check out that Matcherino page. It's just there in the chat. I'm pointing in the right direction. But every little bit helps, and it's free money. I don't get to say that often. Money in that sentence. Go ahead and check out that link. You know, if you want to support it even more, there are a couple different ways you can do it on the Matcherino page. Just something cool that you guys can check out. And you know what? This is the best thing that you can check out right now. Because spawning up here in the top position, going for a 12 pool, is Rogue. Opponent down here in the bottom, he is about to get 12 pool. He is BYUN. Now, one thing to note for this right now. BYUN is not scouting this. He has not sent an SCV across the map, and he's actually not been making a Reaper in the previous couple of games. So overall, he is going to be completely in the dark this attack. And we do see we got the additional extractor as well. Roaches in the back, so this is pretty much an all-in. If this doesn't work, if this doesn't kill BYUN right away, then it's game over for Rogue. BYUN goes up to match point. But right now, it's already looking pretty good for him so far, because we do see that BYUN is going to be building on the low ground. He has no idea this is coming. Oh, the one time a 2-1-1 would be the most helpful thing in the world. The one time that additional racks could win you the game just based off build order. Oh, BYUN, my heart weeps for you right now. His biggest saving grace is going to be able to get that CC up, but I don't think that's going to finish in time. Just keep an eye on that timer in the top. No. BYUN is getting a hard countered here. Looks like Rogue just going to go straight for the main base. BYUN a little bit blindsided here. Going to... Like, that wall is not going to last too long. SCVs are pulled to defend, and they're going to be able to keep them down for the time being, but the Hellions are getting picked off little by little, and the reinforcing approaches are coming in as well. Too many SCVs fall, and that was a pretty straightforward road to victory. Like I'm actually speechless on that one just because of how down. All right. That. All right. So we are tied up once again, 3-3. These guys are just, damn, we've been at this for about an hour now, and they are still going strong. And don't forget, guys, right after this series, we are going to have a winner's interview with these players. So stick around for that one, because I know that we are going to get some great insight into what these guys are thinking. And we're going to have, even better, we're going to have Hajin soon. Hajin going to be doing the interview, and she is the best interviewer in Korea. Let's introduce the players spawning up here in the bottom position. He is our teamless BYUN. And his opponent in the top, he has a team. Jin Air, Green Wings, Rogue. So, after a crazy game like that, I did get to see my Hellions. I did say earlier that I would love to see Hellions in the series because his control is very good with it. But that was the absolute worst time to pull those out. We'll have to see on Pillars here, because you do have a bit of a safer third expansion for the third. So it does make it a little bit more to kind of get that early damage in before they get up to that 3. BYUN going to be changing it up once again, going for the Reaper first. He does want that scouting information now. He realizes how important it is in a player like Rogue. And you know, Rogue, he's got to be feeling pretty good. He does see the Reaper, so he does know that nothing bad is going to be way early on. I might be expecting a much more standard setup here. Usually when you see a Reaper from BYUN, you're not really going to be too fearful unless you see that second and the most annoying things BYUN can just kill off that first, have the energy. Luckily for, though, he did shoo BYUN away much earlier. Let's get the second one, which is pretty, because it does force Rogue to use up a little bit. And now we do see the Hellions going to be coming in to join the Reaper, just to try and be a little bit aggressive, I'd say. His biggest hope is that he could get in there and just do a dive and get maybe 20, 30, maybe even 40 kills. Now we do see Rogue going to be going for roaches once again, and the big problem with is they don't really go into mid to later stages very effectively. So I think with this, Rogue is going to try and get some damage done. I don't really see him staying too defensive, especially not versus Bio, which BYUN is going to be going once again. But we'll have to see as we do have BYUN sending that Liberator across. He's going to try and get something. Yeah, we do see that big swarm of roaches. Looks like Rogue is going to try and clean things up before, really before the economy of BYUN can start to explode. The bunker coming down for the defense. He's going to try and keep the low ground for as long as possible. Doesn't have an armory, so he can't morph these into Hellbats. And he doesn't really have that many Marines. Rogue not able to get through the wall just yet. He finally breaks through, and this is where it gets crazy. As Liberator being forced to come home to defend. He's cleaning up the Ling reinforcements, but he just doesn't have enough to finish off the roaches. He needs to get rid of those Ravagers in order to keep that Liberator alive. But already losing 17 workers here. I think Rogue is looking to clean house in this game. Yeah, we still don't see any drones going down on that third base. The Ravager's going to finish off that wall. Even just going to dive right on top of that siege tank. That's going to go down, and I think this is the last valiant stand for BYUN, as he is not in a good place here. GG is called, and Rogue goes up to match. Remember, this does mean that the map pool has reset. This is going to be exciting. We're heading back to Submarine for our next map. I gotta say, for a best of 7 so far, this has gone by extremely quick. About 1 hour 17 into it, and we're already on game number 8. But I know you guys are as excited for this one as I am, because this guy is fighting for his life right now, spawning in the top position. He is BYUN. And looking to close it out off a convincing all-in right there. He is Jin Air's Rogue. Now, we do see BYUN going for a pretty similar start right there. I don't really expect him to go too crazy in this last game in his tournament life. But we will have to see how he is going to react to Rogue. Rogue is glassless for the time being. No crazy shenanigans like a 12 pool. And not too much else to say in this early stage of the game. Both players just really, one could take this series still. You can never count BYUN out, but you can never really bet against Rogue, because you'd never know what he's gonna do in this situation. Up a game, up on match point. It's just crazy right now. Got the Reaper coming down, so BYUN gonna be sticking to guns, going straight for the Hellions once again. And yeah, switching it up from the 2-1-1, I feel like this is a map where it's actually pretty good to do. You do have these shorter rush distances, and you have the ability to kind of be more aggressive, kind of deny the forward progression from the Zerg, especially when it comes to that creep. But BYUN's not going to be going for that this time. He's going to be going straight for the 3CC off of the factory. Even getting the creep tumor as well, so nice pickoffs here to start things off. So basically, now BYUN is a little bit vulnerable off the back of this, just because the 3CC does mean that there's a lot less unit production. And so if Rogue was going for something similar to the last game, he would be in a lot of trouble. Just so much trouble. But right now, Rogue doesn't really know what his opponent's going for. He hasn't dived in. He hasn't gone into the main base. So all he sees is that it's Hellions. Now what this means for him is he is going to go straight up to Lair Tech off the back of this a little bit quicker. And from that, he's going to be a bit safer versus the Banshee follow-up. But BYUN keeping a lot of these Hellions at home, so we might be looking at a Hellbat timing. Stem off the back of this. Bio once again. I don't really think I've ever seen BYUN use mech. He's kind of a bio boy. He's a little bit predictable in that sense, but I mean, with his skill level, you can really afford to be predictable because you just do it so well. Like we're not really going to see a Hellbat timing here. That is a ton of Hellions, however. He's just going to dive right on top of that third base, backing on out. Yeah, just going to clear up some creep, it looks like. Doesn't want to go too far forward off the... just trying to keep that map presence, that map control. Force a lot of that energy out of the Queens. Kind of just force them into the front location as well. I am kind of waiting to see whether that Banshee goes for the main base or not. They don't have Cloak. So that's really the only issue with them right now. That's why you have to keep the Queens out of the bases with these guys. Yeah, there's just way too much transfuse energy right there to push the front. The Banshee does get 5 worker kills, however, so it did pay for itself. And behind this, we do see BYUN going to be going possibly for another bit of a timing. He does have majority of these Hellions alive, so they can join in on the attack. Oh, the problem is there are Mutalisks on the field, so it's going to come down to how many Marines can you pump out in time. I was just checking. He did not actually see the lair, but now this is going to prompt the Mutalisks to come in and just start picking away at the reinforcements for this push. Hellions forced all the way home, and they are quite badly bruised now. BYUN going to be going for a very, very expensive position right there. Takes a lot of hits on those Marines with the Banelings. Still have the Overlord right there. But now Rogue's in this position where he can just kind of keep BYUN back. BYUN is going to have to keep his reinforcements together if he wants to get anything done here. He's going to have to do it without the siege tanks as well. Just look at the pickoffs that Rogue is getting. He's getting a medevac here, a siege tank there. Now he just keeps catching BYUN off guard. The siege tank didn't even have time to siege up. Some good focus fire micro, but now the Baneling's starting to roll on forward. Accidental pickup means a lot of these Marines are not going to be firing. So Rogue gonna just continue the attack forward. Maybe a little bit too far there as the Banelings get taken down by the siege tank on the top. And now BYUN, he's holding on for right now. He still has a decent army, but it's not one that you can attack with. There's just too many mutas in the sky. He's gonna have to rely on these small drops to kind of force them back at home. Just kind of keep them off his side of the map. But I don't know if he has the supply to really afford to do so. And to his credit, he's going to have a pretty good upgrade lead on this bio. So that's going to help out quite a bit versus the Banelings, and he's also adding in the additional Widow Mines. I do like how he's got that 4cc coming up, so he's trying to stay relatively even with Rogue, who has that 5th base going up. So, like, I can't count BYUN out right now. He hasn't taken any substantial damage. But that Mutalisk Swarm is starting to get pretty wild. Now, it's kind of that point where Rogue can just kind of explode with that army. He can afford to lose the Lings because he'll have more already being produced. It's difficult to kind of push against that, especially when Rogue keeps going for these counterattacks, just keeps BYUN at home. A majority of his army has to come to defend the Mutalisks. We'll have to see how much BYUN can do with this next big attack. Rogue gonna jump around, gonna hit in multiple locations. There is quite a bit at home to defend for BYUN, though. Splits are relatively decent, so he's not going to be taking too much damage off those. He's actually able to jump back onto the Mutalisks in the back, so he only loses 4 workers with that. That is a solid defense. Rogue committed so much to that attack. Now the Baneling's not able to clean up this bio ball. Minos tried to get the pickoffs in the back, but not able to do so. I feel like Rogue may have overextended with some of these attacks. Oh, definitely. A little bit of an overextension there with the Mutalisks. So now, up over 30 army supply is BYUN, and he's just going to keep this push going. Are there enough Banelings here for Rogue? I think the answer right now is no. They're just not getting the connections they need. Even the Mulus flying over a lot of this bio. Now, keep in mind that there's not a lot of healing energy left with this army, but there's also going to be no additional Banelings. So I think BYUN just stim it to win it right now, as the Mutas are the last-ditch effort, and I think we are going to game number 9. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. BYUN just looking so solid with that. Rogue tried his best. He knows that BYUN is a little bit unstable when it comes to those counterattacks, because it forces so much of his army back at home, and it slows down the reinforcements. No reinforcements, BYUN kind of peters out a little bit, a lot in that stage, but never count BYUN out. We go with the final game as the series, everyone. This is exactly how I wanted it to end. A best of 9 going all the way. Be hopping into Jagannatha for the last map of the day. And now, who's going to be the craziest in this game? It's everything to play for. Let's find out, as we have to make this the most epic introduction. Spawning down here in the bottom position, he is Jin Air Green Wings Rogue. And his opponent up here in the top, he may be teamless, but he's also fearless. He is BYUN. Okay, so no Reaper shenanigans from BYUN this time. I think I stated this previously, that sometimes he does like to go for that 3-Rex Reaper wall and try and kill his opponent with just pure Reaper into the 4 or 5 minute mark. But he's gonna be a good boy this time. I'm very interested in follow up Rogue in this game. He went into this with match point, so really it is, yeah. I mean, it's kind of BYUN's game to lose. He does have that forward momentum with the previous game. And so far, we're looking to be pretty standard, pretty straight up from both sides. BYUN kind of just dancing around a little bit. It's never really expected that this Reaper's gonna get any kills. It might get a ling or two here, but Rogue doing a good job of kind of just mitigating that damage. And I mean, behind this, we do see that BYUN's gonna go for the 3CC into the starport as well. So again, this just gives him that economic boost that we saw in the previous game. He was able to stand toe to toe with the reinforcements, and it was more than enough to propel him forward. Rogue just didn't really have that good of an answer for it. He committed a lot to those counterattacks. No, I like the addition of the Viking, because it's not only good to kind of clean up the vision on the map, but it's also fantastic for just kind of dropping in your opponent's main and getting a little work done while the Hellions push the front. This is how BYUN wants to end it, with a Hellbat timing. That is certainly a decision I cannot disagree with. Rogue on the back of this is going to go for that Roach Warren. That's going to help him out quite significantly. But this is BYUN we're talking about here. The guy does not lose units unless it's on purpose. We'll have to see if he's going to have enough. It looks like he has actually just foregone getting those roaches. Did let it finish. But here we go. A very aggressive position on the Morph. And this is it. The roaches start up a little bit too late. Rogue is going to have to buy time. And the Queen's going to be going for the walk around, just doing what they can to survive. This is doing exactly what he needs, just keeping the damage low while the roaches pop out. But he is going to start losing some of those higher energy Queens. Medevac does go down, but this is a lot for BYUN. The other side, the Viking going to get some damage done in the main, exactly like I said. And now, while BYUN didn't get too many worker kills, he did get a majority of those Queens. So that's going to delay creep spread. That's going to hurt your larva production. And that's going to slow you down quite a bit as Rogue, as you're trying to get up to that solid 70 to 80 economy. He does go for a bit of a counterattack, but already the wall is complete. I gotta say, I do love BYUN's position right now. Rogue does have a pretty scary army, currently up 32 to 20. But it's really just hard to utilize because of Stim. Because we have that third CC just helping his economy this much. And because we do have that siege tank up as well, take down the roaches. Look at that. Rogue only just now throwing down his fourth base, so he is right now equal in terms of bases. Does have a good he does have the good roach count, but again, they just don't scale. Gun has 1-1 on the way. It's almost complete, and it's gonna hit with this push, or with this drop. Now, Rogue's only big chance is to win it right here, right now, and I don't know if he really can. I'm certainly not counting him out. He does still have a very scary army with this. But a lot of it is going to have to be home to defend. As Baron's going to be hitting from both locations now. Just a big seesaw effect. BYUN is down quite a bit of supply, but it doesn't matter to him right now. He's trying to hit as much as possible back at home. Rogue is trying to go for broke, and that is gonna be it. BYUN takes the series in an absolute